Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles Sabansi. I want to welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And today we got a pretty serious show. But before we get into it, please make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. Now, as you guys know, the biggest news in the sports world right now, by far, in my opinion, is the firings that have taken place, or just recently took place, at ESPN. Last week, Friday, a litany of firings came out where we found out that Max Kellerman had been fired, Jeff Van Gundy had been fired, Keyshawn Johnson had been fired, Jalen Rose had been fired, just to name a few. But these were the biggest names that got fired from the network. And what that did was it sent a shockwave all throughout the sports media system, right? And it caused everyone to discuss this. So what happened? We produced a show around this that was centered on some comments that Clay Travis, who incidentally used to be employed by ESPN in the past, who now started his own thing with Outkick. And he was basically breaking down the business aspect as to why this is all occurring. And essentially, to summarize it very quickly, ESPN is losing money. They need to cut costs. So they fired these guys, right? Now, some people say, well, how are they losing money? Because they're losing the subscriptions. At one point, they had 100 million subscriptions. People subscribed to ESPN. Now they have 70 million. And that number looks like it's going to continue to dwindle as not as subscription fees, as licensing fees or rights to these, in terms of these big leagues, NFL, NBA, as their rights go up in terms of charging these networks more money. ESPN needed to figure out some way to consolidate some of its revenue to go out there and ensure that they can remain competitive. So we covered that. A lot of people gave their opinion on that. Now, one of the things I mentioned in that show was, how everyone at that network could be under fire. And a lot of people in the comment section said, oh, what do you mean? Stephen A. Smith is a made man. They'll never let him go. He's the face of ESPN. He will never he's just going to be there forever and ever and ever. Meanwhile, while revenue continues to decline steadily, they're firing people left and right. Some people, they're arguing with me. No, they will never let go of him. So what happened? Just this Sunday, Stephen A. Smith, who's not been on ESPN, I think all this week, just this Sunday, he dropped an episode from his podcast called No Mercy. And in this episode, he was reacting to the big names that got fired at ESPN. Now, towards the end of this particular segment, Stephen A. Smith said something that absolutely left me stunned about his future at ESPN. So what we want to do is we want to play exactly what Stephen A. Smith had to say here, and then we're going to come back and continue with the show. Take a listen to what Stephen A. Smith had to say here.
But if we're going to be real about it, let's deal with reality. This ain't the end. More is coming. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, I could be next. Let me tell y'all something. Don't ever, ever, ever in your life as a black person take anything for granted. I told you before, when white folks catch a cold, black folks catch pneumonia. The Neil Everett's are gone, the Jeff Van Gundy's are gone, the David Pollack, outstanding college football analyst, love him. He was one of the casualties. Todd McShay, college football analyst extraordinaire, especially for the NFL draft. He's part of the casualties. Love him. You didn't think black folks was going to be on the list too? That's always the case. And the one thing that I can tell you about Stephen A., this ain't 2009. I really didn't see it coming. My eyes are always wide open now. I'm never comfortable. I never take anything for granted, and I never assume that I'm safe. And First Take's number one. And been number one for 11 and a half plus years.
So you heard what he said. He said a few things. First thing he said was He expects more firings to come down the turnpike. That's the first thing. The second thing he said, which lies at the heart of this show here, he said that I'm not safe. Even me, I'm not safe. Now, this flies in the face of what a lot of people who were commenting on that show said. Oh, Stephen A. Smith, he's good money. He's good money. You see, Stephen A. Smith understands something very clearly. He's looking at the ship. It's not sinking fast, but damn it, every few seconds, a few liters of water is coming in. And he's understanding. He said, wait a minute. These guys just removed, what, $30 million off their payroll. Then they replace all of these people with a Pat McAfee. And he said to himself, he said, now, why would they do that? If it's about cost cutting, think about this. If, in fact, it's about cost cutting, wouldn't you lay off all of these people and go get somebody you pay $10 million a year? Why would you go out there and get somebody that you pay $30 million a year? And then Stephen A. Smith started to put two and two together. He said, wait a minute. Although all of those folks that just got let go of, although they were talented in their own way, Pat McAfee brings something they don't have, which is an audience that was brought outside of this system of ESPN, which means that he's essentially bringing something to the table. I was listening to Anton Daniels this morning, and he brought up this very point. Moving forward is not the game y'all thought we were going to be playing. The game people thought it was going to be was, well, I can do my job very well. I can talk about sports, and I just need to go up there and get hired by one of these big companies, and they're going to give me a big bag. Nope. Not going to work. Not going to work. Capitalism has stepped into the room and said, nah, we found a more efficient way to do things. And now what we're looking for is people that have cultivated their own audience that could actually bring us a premium to our network. So we know that when we're paying you, you're actually going to be bringing a wider audience that allows us to now sell ads against that audience. We're no longer interested in building up your audience on our platform. Now we're looking for folks that can come into the system with their own viewership, audience base, or whatever you want to call it, and add something to what we're doing, and then we can pay those people a premium. Now, the question then becomes, why would they pay him $30 million? The reason they're paying him $30 million is because they know they can make more than the $30 million that they're paying him. And the reason they probably let go of those people in aggregate is probably because they were not going to be able to bring in the amount of ad revenue that one single Pat McAfee could bring in, i.e. Stephen A. Smith now has his own show. Wake up and smell the cocoa. The game is changing. For whatever reason, I've noticed that a lot of people like to holler about, oh, they're entrepreneurs. Oh, they out there, go get it. I'm a go-getter. I'm all about the blah, 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 my ass. It sounds good until the rubber actually hits the road. We have some of the most successful business people in the world in their minds. In their minds, we have millions of Jeff Bezoses running around. Literally. Because people can make hundreds of millions of dollars in their head. But now when the rubber hits the road, what we're going to find out is now we're going to understand who has the capacity to not only be entertaining, not only to be able to cultivate an audience, but also to build their own business and bring something valuable here to one of these networks. The game is over. The game is over. So to have arguably the biggest personality on this network say publicly that, oh, I don't believe that I'm safe. That should be everything. Now, the whole thing about Black America got a clue, I didn't quite follow what he had to say, but I wasn't following what he was saying. However, the part about the business aspect of it makes 100% sense. And for him to say that publicly, it lets you know really where this thing is going. You better put on your boots, pull up your pants, tighten up your hat. I don't mean pull up your pants in the way that they mean. I'm just saying, like, strap yourself in and get ready to go to work and get ready to be resourceful. And to what Anton said, he made a very good point this morning. He said, It's not about who can debate. You see, it's not about who knows the most basketball. People are crazy. You think people can sit up here and really care about how much knowledge you have of basketball? That you can tell them what Michael Jordan scored in January of 1993? Nobody cares. What they want to know is, number one, are you entertaining? Are you bringing valuable information? Is this guy consistent? This guy or girl? And do they have something to offer that's entertaining? They could care less. We're not going to school here. So to me, I thought this information was very, very poignant. And what I want to know from you guys is, number one, what do you think about Stephen A. Smith's admission? And number two, where do you think the sports media landscape is going into the future? Whatever you guys think, leave your thoughts in the comments and we catch you on the next show.